No strikes to Merrifield.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
An idea came to pass in 1947. A simple plan, really. You're to build a beautiful little ballpark, they said, on a beautiful little hill in East Omaha. With the stadium complete, in 1950, Omaha welcomed teams from around the country, and college baseball's elite began to set their sights on Nebraska for 2 weeks in June. But the city started something they hadn't planned. They hadn't factored in what would happen next. 60 years of greatness is what happened next. An embrace, a nurturing by the city and its people, creating the stage, a beacon for the best in baseball. Omaha and the College World Series, synonymous. Legend made not just for the accomplishment, but for the stage on which it was accomplished. Now, 2011 offers opportunity not only to add to that history, but a fresh chance and a new stage on which to make it. A transition, one might say an upgrade. Yeah, it's tough to replace the old place, but you honor it by building off its strong foundation and its tradition that remains intact. A 21st century stage for the 19th century game of baseball. The reinforcement of Omaha's commitment to what it holds most dear, the College World Series.
Welcome to Day 2 of the 2011 College World Series. The city has unveiled the new stadium and already history has been made. The 2010 national champion South Carolina Gamecocks closed down Rosenblatt Stadium, becoming the final team to ever win a national title there. Today, against Texas A&M, they start their journey toward another, looking to etch their names as the first ever champions at TD Ameritrade Park. Happy Father's Day. Welcome to the NCAA College World Series, presented on ESPN by Capital One. And tonight, the South Carolina Gamecocks begin defense of their national title, facing the Aggies of Texas A&M. There are 8 teams here with 2 brackets of 4, and 3 have moved into the winner's bracket already. Vanderbilt, Florida, and Virginia. UVA beating California 4-1 this afternoon, and now the weekend finale. Great pleasure to be with you on this Father's Day, everybody. I'm Dave O'Brien alongside the 6-time Major League All-Star Nomar Garciaparra. Happy Father's Day to you, my friend.
Happy Father's Day to you, too.
Thank you very much. Well, very excited to see South Carolina as they start defense of their national title. But, Nomar, effectively, they bring the same team back here to Omaha.
And people, if experience means anything, well, they definitely have it. They come here, they're calm, they're collective, they know exactly what to do, and especially when their backs are against the wall, because they lost their first game last year at the College World Series and came back to win it all.
Facing Texas A&M, and at the very top of their order, the Big 12 Player of the Year, one of the greatest hitters in the country at the college level, and Tyler Naquin, who has been outstanding all year.
Well, the way they describe their offense is high pressure and aggressive. They really like to put the defense on their heels and put total pressure. And most people think you put the best hitter in the 3rd spot. Well, they choose to put him at the top of the lineup to really set the tone.
Well, the left-hander Michael Roth will be countering today for South Carolina. He's one of the best pitchers in the country all season long as well, and very good at controlling the running game that A&M is so fond of.
You're right. And if I can quote our very own Kyle Peterson, he says, when you watch Michael Roth, turn off the radar gun and just enjoy, because he really knows how to pitch. In his entire college career, he didn't start till last year right here in the College World Series. And since then, all he's done, he's compiled a 1.03 ERA. He has the lowest ERA of any starter in the country this year, and he truly is a joy to watch.
Well, another overflow crowd is on hand for the always entertaining nightcap. It's Texas A&M and South Carolina, the last 2 in the opening round, coming up next.
Back of a jacked up tailgate, sitting around watching all these The NCAA College World Series is presented by the Capital One Venture Card, with double miles on every purchase every day. And in part by Mazda, Zoom Zoom, and KFC. Today tastes so good.
Those are the South Carolina Gamecocks. They're getting ready to face Texas A&M. Those are your defending national champs. The NCAA College World Series presented by Capital One. South Carolina against Texas A&M. Left-hander Michael Roth on the mound tonight, and facing the right-hander Ross Stripling. That's your pitching matchup, and a dandy. Of course, the Gamecocks won it all last year, and for more on their story, let's get it down to Kyle Peterson.
All right, Obie, thank you. Like Nomar said in the open, this South Carolina team came to the College World Series last year, lost their opener to Oklahoma, but they would come back, win six straight games, and along the road, eliminate Oklahoma, beat their rival Clemson twice, and win this school's first ever national championship.
Growing up, I dreamed of this as a kid, and to now be here playing for a national championship, it's almost hard to believe.
We opened up with a loss, and our guys just kept battling back.
Down to their final strike of the season, Jackie Bradley Jr. delivers for the Gamecocks.
We just went nuts. As soon as he hit it, we knew it was going through.
That's huge, and we got the momentum going and carried it on from there.
South Carolina wins, and they're still alive.
It's a great honor to be able to say that I'm going to play the last game on the Rosenblatt Stadium.
It's our last game, so we got to lay it all on the line.
Strike three. Matt Price has been incredible so far. He gets through the 11th, and the intensity gets ratcheted up another notch at Rosenblatt.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
And they are back to defend, Obie, and they got quite a boost today, too. Last year's most outstanding player of the College World Series is back after missing the last 26 games with a wrist injury. Jackie Bradley Jr. back in center field and in the 9-hole.
All right, Kyle, thank you very much. That was almost a game-time decision for Texas A&M. A little bit of a different story. They've not been to Omaha since 1999. And here's a look at this starting lineup presented by Capital One. At the top of the order, as mentioned, the gifted Tyler Naquin. Craig Bratzman is in the center field spot, batting second. Matt Yengel is the DH. Jacob House at first base. Adam Smith at third. Kevin Gonzalez, he's really the life of the party, the catcher. Great personality. Brandon Wood in left. Kenny Jackson, the shortstop. And Andrew Colazo is the second baseman.
Well, we talked about earlier about Tyler Naquin really setting the tone for an offense, but you really need that heart and soul of the team, and that is Kevin Gonzalez. You said it. Big personality, keeps everyone loose, keeps everyone on their toes, and keeps everyone in the game.
Facing the left-hander Michael Roth, 6'1", 210 pounds, drafted by the Cleveland Indians, all SEC first team. And look at the numbers. 13-3 in a minuscule ERA, Nomar, of 1.02.
Just incredible. And look to see when good pitchers like Roth are on the hill is how they're able to expand the zone. Let's see if he's going to be able to do that today.
Well, he faces one of the very best hitters in America right away, and Tyler Naquin hitting .390 with 2 homers and 44 runs batted in. The Aggies built on pitching, defense, and speed, but they have a tremendous hitter in Naquin, who hit in 27 consecutive games this season. This play to first base by Walker, and a throw to first, and that's going to carry him right behind the mound. So Naquin is on. So immediately he gets aboard, but Walker couldn't handle the chance over there at first base.
Well, Naquin right off the bat hits the ball hard. Tough hop over there at the first baseman. And Naquin looked like he was thinking about rounding it at first. And you saw the pitcher go over there. Watch Naquin as he's going. Okay, he's going straight for the bag. Then he sees it Karam. And then he's thinking, okay, I got to round the bag. Nope, I got a better play through. There's going to be a play on me. And good job even avoiding that throw at him.
It's an E3 and a quick bunt here by Bratson. Laid down nicely. Down to second base is Naquin. So a solid sacrifice bunt. Now defensively, here's a look with Jake Williams in left field. Jackie Bradley Jr., as we mentioned, in center field. Bit of a surprise. Evan Marzilli, who's battling a hamstring, is in right. Up the middle, Mooney and Wingo. On the corners, Morales and Walker. And Robert Beery is the catcher for South Carolina. Here's Yengel, big RBI man. 7 homers, 50 RBIs. He hit .309 coming into tonight. He's a power pull hitter.
Yeah, and he definitely isn't afraid to knock the ball out. He's the first guy to have double digits this year on that team. I'm sorry, he only has 7 home runs this year on that team.
But with those 7, he is their leading home run hitter. So you know how they play. Junior from Houston, Texas. They're going to get on board and they're going to try and run. They'll still third a lot. They're not bashful about that. Engel, a guy who can run as well, as he takes one around the outside corner from Roth.
Well, if you're going to steal third, you usually do it with 0 or no outs. We're actually at 1 out. I'm sorry, 0 or 1 out, but really with 1 out, because you hate making the first out at third and the third out at third.
Jacob Howe's the first baseman, and the top RBI man on deck, and that's in for a called strike. Roth is not a hard thrower, to put it mildly. He might hit 85 if he maxes out. He's got a cutter, a changeup, and a slider. And he's cagey, Omar, because he will change arm angles. He's an outstanding fielder as well, and that's up and away for ball 4. So 2 men on for Texas A&M right away, and a chance for a quick score.
You're right. Roth does change arm angles. A couple things that creates is, one, for a hitter, gives you a different look. It might change up where you're looking at the same arm slot all the time off a pitcher. The other thing it creates is a little bit more movement on certain balls that he throws, especially when now that he's in trouble here. He's got first and second with 1 out. He's looking for that ground ball. Hopefully that double play dropping down might create a little bit more sink for him.
Jacob Howe's the first baseman, the cleanup man. Stalls that one up the middle for a base hit. Here comes Naquin rounding third. Bradley Jr.'s throw to the plate to tag. He's in there. He scores on a close play at home plate, and Texas A&M grabs a fast lead, 1-0. Jacob House with an RBI single up the middle. Bradley Jr. with a terrific throw.
Well, that's one thing Bradley brings. He's got good defense, but what was better was that hit by House, who's been just clutch for them all year long, staying up the middle and hitting it hard. And you see Naquin rounding third, getting the inside corner of that bag. It's going to be a close play at home, and he just sneaks in the hand there. This is a close play.
Well, I thought for a moment maybe he didn't get the play.
Right, he's got it in there.
Here's Adam Smith with a swing and a miss. Smith, the third baseman, 244, 6 home runs. First and second for A&M, and here they come. A 1-0 lead. Smith, the guy they say has light tower power when he gets a hold of one. Just a half a dozen home runs, but the Yankees liked him well enough that they drafted Adam as an infielder and as a pitcher in the 25th round. Well, that fast error immediately comes back to haunt South Carolina.
Oh, with Adam Smith, he is a two-tool guy. And they always talk about 5 tools in baseball. He's got the arm, he's got power, he's athletic, good defense. So you get drafted, and a lot of teams think with those kind of tools, I can shape them into the professional baseball player that we're looking for.
South Carolina turns a lot of double plays. Runners go, swing and a miss. Here's the throw, and it winds up as a double steal. So on the move, the Aggies get 2 men into scoring position immediately.
Well, we talked about right from the beginning that they are going to be aggressive on those base path, and like I said, good time to do it with 1 out on the board.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Fellas.
Now it changes the whole at bat for Adam Smith.
Now a base hit could mean 2 runs and deliver a 3-0 lead for Texas A&M in the first inning.
And now he can even just stay up the middle because they're playing back. Think about up the middle with a ground ball, gets an RBI, or a ball in the air for a sacrifice fly. That's how big that stolen base is for a batter.
Could make an out here and drive in a run. That's on the inside corner, delayed call there by Travis Katzenmeyer, the home plate umpire, and Smith fans. So Roth gets his first K in a key spot.
Well, this is a big pitch for Roth right here. You look on K zone, just looks like it might clip the corner there. For me as a hitter, when I have guys in that scoring position, I already have 2 strikes. I really can't afford to take that ball. Got to try to just do something, maybe either foul it off or put it in play, like I said, with the infield back, thinking up the middle.
So a strikeout of Smith, and that'll bring up Kevin Gonzalez, the catcher, number 6 hitter. Very popular senior receiver, has great energy, great personality. Born in Houston, but from Cuba, from Cuban heritage. Played his summer ball in Cuba one summer and had a great time doing that. He's visiting family there. 2 on for him. And the first one in there for a called strike from Roth. Roth was a key man out of the bullpen on last year's national champion. He actually started, though, in the Gamecocks' clinching victory in the College World Series. Now he's just trying to survive the first inning. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gonzalez. Rob Childress, his 6th year at Texas A&M as the head coach. He says we are more athletic than we are powerful. They're not going to hit the ball over the fence too much, but they have as many athletes as anybody.
He said, look at our lineup. Look at our size and weight. We don't have too many guys over 200, at least not who swing the bat. If they are, they're usually on the mound. So we got to really put pressure on those other teams.
Well, they're doing it here in the first inning. Already a run in, maybe a couple of more on the way, and that's well outside, and the count goes to 3-1 on Gonzalez.
He also mentioned there's so many people talking about this new stadium. How is it playing? It's playing big. The gaps seem to be bigger than old Rosenblatt, even though it's the same dimensions as Rosenblatt. But he feels this really fits our type of team, our lifestyle, and what we like to do.
Yeah, they like the ballpark a lot. Everybody has been raving about it. And we're expecting another sellout here tonight. Check swing. Did he offer? He did. So the count now 3-2 on Gonzalez.
Let's have a look at this check swing again. And that one, yeah, he definitely went out in front and got that. It was a good call by the umpire at first base. I'm glad the home plate umpire checked. As a hitter, you just ask, please can you check and let that guy has a better angle, and he did that.
2 on, 2 out, full count on Gonzalez. And Roth misses away for ball 4, and he walks him, and the bases are loaded. And he's walked 2 men in the first inning. So it has been a scuffle. Look at Roth before and after last year's great College World Series run. And before the 2010 College World Series, 1-1. Look at him since 14-3.
And look at the innings. I mean, when you finish off the College World Series, and if you're a reliever, and then you go into the offseason, and then you think that you're going to be, they're letting you know you're going to be the starter off what you did at the College World Series. I'm sure he had to change his whole routine, get ready to throw that many more innings.
Here's Brandon Wood with a swing and a fly ball, slicing down the right field line. Trouble if it's fair, and it is going to bounce fair and up into the corner. That may clean them all off. The bases were loaded. They are no longer. That is a 3-run triple. Brandon Wood striking on the first pitch he gets, and it's 4-0 Texas A&M.
Well, they're high pressure and aggressive, and here's a pitch down and away. Caught the plate just too much, and Brandon Wood does a good job staying with it to go the other way with that pitch and catching it just fair and clearing the bases. And when we talk about being aggressive, Ross already walked 2 batters this inning, yet being aggressive on that first pitch, sees a pitch he likes, doesn't do too much with it, and goes the other way.
Here's Kenny Jackson trying to keep that line moving for Texas A&M. They've scored 4 runs, all of them unearned. 5 triples for Wood, who does have some power. And a spectacular start for Texas A&M. Again, they have not been to Omaha since 1999. Jackson takes one on the outside corner for a strike. 283 hitter with 2 home runs. Probably the best shortstop that Coach Childress has had at Texas A&M. Defensively outstanding. Well outside. That's where Beery had set up. But off the corner. 2-1. Boy, what a long inning for Roth. This is the 8th man that he's faced in the inning. 24 pitches. He's missed with more than he has thrown in the strike zone. Wood at third. And a high chop to the middle. Tough play. Corralled by Mooney. Throws on target for out number 3. What a start, though, for the Aggies. They get to the South Carolina ace and they score 4 times. Very patient approach, and Wood with the big hit. 4-0. Texas A&M after half an inning in Omaha. Very pleasant night here in Omaha, Nebraska for the College World Series. Texas A&M jumping all over the defending national champion South Carolina Gamecocks as we take a look at the starting lineup now for the Gamecocks, presented by Capital One. And Evan Marzilli will lead things off. He's in right field. Scott Wingo at second base. Christian Walker at first. Brady Thomas the DH. Adrian Morales at third base. Jake Williams in left. Peter Mooney in the shortstop position with Robert Beery doing the catching. And Jackie is the center fielder in batting ninth. Bradley Jr. back in the fold. He was the most outstanding player in last year's College World Series.
And I'm sure they're happy to have him back in the lineup, but Christian Walker has really been carrying this team. He's been their most consistent and best hitter all season. Right there in that third spot. We said at the beginning, most people put their best hitter in that 3 hole. Texas A&M puts him at the top. South Carolina right in that 3 spot.
A&M starting the right-hander Ross Stripling, 14-2 with a 2.29 ERA, drafted by the Colorado Rockies. Well, he spent the first 11 games of this season as A&M's primary closer.
And now coming in as a starter, has good command of all 3 of his pitches. His fastball, slider, changeup. And what he said it's really helped him come along this year was developing that changeup, getting confidence in that changeup, and not afraid to throw it to right-handers.
Marzilli was questionable coming into tonight. In fact, until he did some running before the game, he was not in their lineup. But he's leading off. He's had a hamstring injury just suffered within the last day or so at practice. Very good speed. Coach Tanner says it's a shame he's hurt because this is a great ballpark for him.
Ball 4.
He'll be wide for ball 4, so Marzilli is on. So an excellent start for the Gamecocks here to get the leadoff man on. We'll see if he can run, though. Coach Tanner, his team lost their College World Series opener last year and then won 6 in a row. His 15th year at the helm at South Carolina.
Well, the past 7 trips for South Carolina, they've lost the very first game in the College World Series. And the last 4 times under Coach Tanner, they've lost the first game.
Here's Scott Wingo. Really fine hitter, 338 with 4 home runs. Drafted in the 11th round by the Dodgers, one of 11 major league draft picks for South Carolina. Hard hit and a base hit. Marzilli had to make sure that went through and didn't hit him. So Wingo on with a sharp single. First 2 men have reached here for the Gamecocks. Now defensively for Texas A&M, here's a look at the outfield. Brandon Wood is in left. Craig Bratson is in center field. Naquin is in right. Up the middle, the double play combo is Jackson and Andrew Collazo, and on the corners Adam Smith and Jacob House and Kevin Gonzalez, a really fine catcher behind the plate, the second in the Big 12 in fielding percentage. Already a mound visit here.
Already. saying, okay, what's our plan defensively? What are we going to do? The reason they're trying to get that, they're trying to stay out of that big inning. You know, you had the 2 leadoff guys on, so you know he's letting them know how we're going to play this. Make sure we get an out so we can get things going.
Very early, nonetheless, for Coach Childress, and 4-0 lead for Texas A&M. Christian Walker will be the batter. This has to be part of the discussion. The guy who's about to step in against Stripling. A .359 average with 10 homers and 60 RBIs. And as we see in the College World Series, even with numbers like that, he's indicating bunt and asking for time here.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was wondering if he was going to square around and bunt, and even the third baseman actually was playing back, started off back for Texas A&M, and then he started coming in.
Now, Walker does not have a sacrifice this year, so that might have just been a bluff.
Right. To draw on the third baseman, because the third baseman was back.
Walker, their top RBI man, very steady. Gets on base a ton, a .442 on base percentage. Marzilli and Wingo already aboard. They're on base with nobody out. And he got a piece of it in the foul back for a strike. South Carolina, the first defending champion to make it back to Omaha following the season they won it since Oregon State in 2007. The Beavers won their 2nd in a row. The right-hander from South Lake, Texas delivers. Way too high.
I'm sure it's a thrill for South Carolina to close out Rosenblatt Stadium with the tradition, the history there, and to win the final championship there. And what a thrill it would be to be the first one at this new beautiful ballpark.
To check his swing, although there were plenty of Texas A&M fans in the crowd who were umpiring the game, and they thought he went.
2-2.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, nobody out. South Carolina trying to bounce back quickly after giving up 4 in the top of the first. Stripling's pitch. The looping liner towards center coming on Bratz, who's not going to get there. Falls in. Marzilli down to third, and he stops there. Remember, he does have the tender hamstring, so he does not score, but the bases are all loaded up for the cleanup hitter and the DH, Brady Thomas. So South Carolina really building something right away, Nomar.
Well, watch Marzilli here at second base. Because the way this ball was hit, this is a smart play. He can't assume that was going to fall. You're right, he is dealing with a hamstring already. He's been tested on the hamstring. That really tests you when you have to stop and go that way. But he did a good job reading that ball, and he looked okay right there.
Yeah, he did. Free and easy. So Thomas, the left-hand hitter, to dig in. Usually the Gamecocks' #1 catcher, but he hurt his ankle about 5 weeks ago, and he's not mobile enough back there, so he's the DH.
And especially when you have a sprained ankle, squatting all the time, the pressure you have to put on that ankle. And good thing for the Gamecocks, it doesn't bother him swinging the bat.
What did Coach Tanner tell us this morning at the hotel? He said, our mentality is we are never out of it, no matter what the score is. And is this a balk? It is. It is going to be a balk, and a run will score. Marzilli will score on the balk, charge to Stripling. And that's how the Gamecocks get their first run, and the runners move up to second and third.
Well, let's see what he does here. Let's see if he stepped off with the wrong foot. He's in the windup. You got to look. He's got to step off with his right foot to get off of there.
A ball on Thomas, and a count 1-0. I didn't pick up anything there.
I didn't pick up anything there either.
But that was right before the balk was called. See if we can get a better look at that. Swinging a rocket down the right field line, but he hooked it foul. That ball spanked by Brady Thomas. One of their top clutch hitters, line drive guy, just loves to play, the coaches will tell you. He's got the face of a guy who loves to play. Locked in. 1-1, he swings and misses. You know, scouts have been scouting faces for years. It's one of those categories. What does a player's face tell you?
Well, I'm very lucky then, because they couldn't see mine apparently.
Here comes the 1-2, and it's in there for strike 3. Stripling made a great pitch, and he sits down Thomas. It's a big out there right after the balk.
Big curveball right there, and you can see it just fell right over the heart of the plate. I mean, as a hitter, that's the curveball I'm looking for, the one up like that that falls right in the heart of it.
So Thomas strikes out. That sends up Adrian Morales, the third baseman. Runners at second and third for South Carolina. A base hit here could very well make this a one-run game in a heartbeat. Morales at 286 with 3 home runs, chosen by the Royals in the 49th round. And taps a foul.
And you're right, even this situation, you're going a base hit really keeps this game at 1. But early in the game, I still want to do the right things at the plate. I still have a guy at third base. I want to stay up the middle. If they're going to give me the RBI if I hit a ground ball with less than 2 outs, or try to get one in the air.
To the right side. That'll get it done. That'll bring in a run. Oh, and a high throw. Might bring in another. On the carom, no play at the plate. 2 runs. Score. Morales down to second. The Texas A&M hurting themselves defensively. The balk, and now a big error to make it a 1-run game with a tying run at second base.
Well, he did exactly what I was talking about. Stay up the middle, get a ground ball, have something good come out of it, and something better came out of it. A misplay, an error by the second baseman. He just launches that over the first baseman's head. Nothing first baseman can do on that play but what he did.
No, not unless he's Shaq. So here's Jake Williams. Morales to second base on a giant error. Already 7 runs in the first inning by these two clubs. And a slicer foul off to the right by Williams with 279, 2 homers, 38 RBIs coming into tonight. He's had some big hits, like his game-winning 3-run homer and a pinch hit situation to beat Clemson. Also had game-tying RBI singles and wins over Florida and Kentucky. Gators with an impressive victory over Texas here last night to move into the winner's bracket. We have 1 more slot to fill in the winner's bracket tonight. The double elimination tournament in there for a strike.
See how active Morales is there at second base. You know, for as a hitter, I don't like that jumping around. If I got a guy in scoring position, I don't like my guy jumping around too much because I can see him in my peripheral.
Into the dirt and stopped by Gonzalez out front of the plate.
So let's watch him again as he's jumping around. I know he's trying to see. He's like moving around, see going, trying to see if he can mess up the pitcher a little bit, but that messes up the hitter just as well.
Let's see how it affects Williams here. There's a bluff, and he gets back. No one cutting in, either the second baseman Collazo or Jackson, the shortstop. 4-3 Texas A&M, and we're not done with the first inning yet. And it's down and in. It seems to be bothering Stripling more than it is Jake Williams.
Right, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to bother Stripling more. You know, obviously they've been playing for a long time. If I'm sure they've been in this situation before throughout the year, so I'm sure Williams knows. They're used to Morales jumping around out there.
Ross Stripling with very deep A&M roots. They go deep, even though he was actually born in Pennsylvania. His older brother Hayes is a 2009 graduate of A&M. Serve to the right side. That'll advance the runner. Collazo throwing to first base to get the out. He got the bag. Stripling there in time. And down to third moves Morales with 2 away.
Well, it's a good job by Collazo. So he has to hit the pitcher on the run, and after you make that error and you launch one over, you're down a little bit on yourself. but to come up and still hit that pitcher on the run, that's good to get your confidence back in and get him straight. And now he can just go out there and play baseball.
Do you know why Jacob House wasn't there, the first baseman? As Mooney gets in and he takes one for a strike.
Jacob House committed on that ground ball when it was hit to Collazo. He thought it might be an in-betweener, and once he committed, he figured I'll get in the way if I try to get back to first base.
Unusual to see a routine ground ball handled by the pitcher at first base.
Yeah, we're going to see it again. You see there's a ball over there, and then I know it's right there at Collazo, but House, see how he commits, see how far over he was, and once he did that and committed, he couldn't get back there, and now you're dealing with a collision at first. Better job by Stripling not to assume that he's going to get back to first base and hustling over there.
Because it is a highly unusual play for a pitcher, no matter how softly that was hit, as it was toward the hole. When he swings, hits that one toward that right side hole. A diving play by Collazo. Will he get the play? No, and the run is in. And this game is tied. Boy, South Carolina did not wait around. They get forward quickly, and we're locked up at 4 apiece. Peter Mooney with a base hit. Collazo did everything he could, but came up short with that throw.
You're right. Collazo did absolutely everything he could on that ball. Makes a great diving play. It just didn't stay in his glove. I think if it had stayed in his glove, he would have had time to get up and possibly throw him out at first base. You see it just hit off the heel of his glove. But I think that I think after making that play before, it gave him that confidence, go out there and make that tough play, and just came up short. Great effort.
Well, he's made a giant error in the inning. Trying to shake that off. Here's the 8th batter in the first inning. Robert Beery knocks that one to the third baseman Smith. The forced play retires the side. But the defending national champs, they didn't look like in the top of the inning. They did in the bottom of the inning. We're tied 4-4. The road to Omaha has brought Texas A&M and South Carolina together here on a Sunday night. And after one inning, a 4-4 game. Some wild baseball already. Some miscues have really determined this score getting to 4-4. That big time error there by Collazo. Just shot put that one past his first baseman.
Yeah, that one there's just nothing. You just know, okay, I made a bad throw. I launched it over my first baseman. Now I got to get my mindset and make plays after that.
So Collazo will lead things off here in the second inning. And Naquin and Bratson for Texas A&M.
It's amazing about baseball. If you make a great play to end the inning, you seem to be coming up. You're usually that leadoff hitter. And then when you make an error, it seems like you're that leadoff hitter as well. You're like, there's no place to hide.
Good luck getting out of the spotlight.
Right.
Collazo 270, 1 homer, 14 RBIs. If he gets on, he's going to be running. He has stolen 18 bases in 18 attempts. Very disciplined hitter. And takes a strike.
One thing is to be aggressive on a base pass. It's the other to be smart. And to be 18 for 18, you have to be both.
They have stolen twice as many bases Texas A&M has as their opponents.
1 and 2.
Collazo named the most outstanding player in the Big 12 championships. They hit him 9th. And he waves and misses, and down he goes for strike 3. Second strikeout by Michael Roth. Let's go back and take a look at the balk by Stripling.
And the thing to key here, watch with the catcher looking for timeout, and Stripling, he flinched on the mound. He was about to start and saw that his catcher called timeout, but timeout was not given. Just because you're asking for a timeout, you can't assume that the umpire is going to give it to you.
Here's Naquin. He is 0 for 1, although he reached on an error in the first inning as the leadoff man, and then came around to score. One of 4 runs for Texas A&M. He had a 27-game hitting streak earlier this season, the longest ever by a Texas A&M hitter. Well, second longest. He leads the nation with 103 hits. 390 coming into tonight with 2 home runs.
And I know on base percentage is talked a lot in Major League Baseball. But I think on base percentage matters where you're going to be hitting in that lineup. And He's a .459 on base percentage, and it's important at the top of the lineup. That's where I want to see that high on base percentage.
It's a piece and flicks it foul. He also has one of the best throwing arms in the country. He's a right fielder, the MVP of the College Station Regional as well. One man out and the base is empty. A 4-4 tie in the second. Foul ball ripped off to the left. Aikman needing only 5 more hits to break the school record for hits in a season. He has been that good. The 1-2 from Roth. Cut on and missed. He's had some nasty stuff in this inning. Back-to-back strikeouts to begin the second for Michael Roth.
Well, now that his team came back and tied the game in the bottom of the first, he's trying to go out and keep that momentum and doing a good job.
You mentioned how he'll change those arm angles to really mess with the lineup. Is Craig Bratson. He dropped down a sacrifice bunt in the first inning. Bratson, a Louisville Slugger freshman All-American. Shows bunt. It takes it. .331 average, no home runs, and how about this? 31 stolen bases this year.
He can fly. He can handle the bat. Like you said, he's going to put pressure because he can drag bunt. He came into the game with 18 sacrifice bunts and already has 1 today.
Cross for a strike. His father James played in the Indians organization. He also starred at A&M and led the Aggies in home runs 3 years in a row. His son so far has not homered.
You think his son is going, yeah, but have you hit with these new aluminum bats, Dad?
That's right.
Right, we got one safety right here.
The reduced trampoline effect, and it's had a profound effect on college baseball this year. Home runs are down 45% in college baseball this year. 45%.
That's a huge number. I think they were talking about also the flight of it. It's almost like 15 to 20 feet difference. And that's huge in baseball.
Sliced into right field for a base hit. He does a very nice job going to the opposite field for a single. So after back-to-back strikeouts, Roth gives up a hit. And that'll send up Matt Yingle.
Watch Bratson swing right here, staying down on the ball. You can see the head of that bat that goes straight down to the ball, kind of at a downward angle, and stays inside the ball to drive to right field.
The theme of the season for the Aggies has really been resiliency and coming up big when they've been down. The Big 12 tournament, the regionals, and the super regionals. They won the Big 12 tournament, and they trailed in all 4 tournament games. And in 3 of those games, they trailed by 5 runs or more. 2 of them, they won in extra innings. So it was a bit of an unfamiliar feeling when they got a 4-0 lead. Although South Carolina came charging back to tie it.
We say Branson has 31 stolen bases over there at first base, but Roth does an excellent job holding runners on. So this is a bit cat and mouse between the two.
A ball to Yengel, who walked and stole a base in the first inning and came around to score a run. Texas A&M worked a first inning double steal. Two down, and the pitch off the outside edge.
Well, Roth is very difficult to steal off of because he goes with that slide step when he's in the stretch. I mean, one, it's difficult to steal off a lefty because they can pick you off over there and throw to first base just like that. But 2, when he's got a slide step, the timing it takes from him to start his windup and get cross home plate is so low, it's tough to even steal straight off of him.
You saw Beard, the catcher, hold it there for an extra. Would reconsider. He did not. So the count goes to 3-0. Yengel's a guy who also runs very well. That's a strike over the inside corner. Jacob House on deck. House had a run scoring single in the first inning. Runner holding at first, and that's ball 4. So he's walked another one. That's his third free pass issued in the first 2 innings. Well, coverage of the NCAA College World Series presented by Capital One continues on ESPN and ESPN2 tomorrow. 1 to 2 Eastern on ESPN. It's North Carolina battling Texas. That's an elimination game. And at 7 Eastern on ESPN2, it's Florida facing Vanderbilt in the winner's bracket. Omar Garciaparra, Dave O'Brien, and Kyle Peterson with you from Omaha. 2 on for A&M. And House, the batter. Lefty hitter with a single, an RBI, and a stolen base in the first inning. He's a transfer from Arkansas. And for Arkansas, he came to Omaha to play in the College World Series.
You're right. So this is his second visit to Omaha, just in a different uniform.
Great defensive player. He swings and flies that one to center field. Jackie Bradley Jr. there. And the side is retired. So Roth, a single and a walk against him, but he gets out of the inning. 2 men left. We're tied up 4-4 in Omaha. South Carolina held quite a parade July 2nd, 2010. 42,000 folks, Gamecock fans and supporters, to commemorate the USC baseball team's historic NCAA championship. Ray Tanner leading the Gamecock Baseball National Championship Parade as the Grand Marshal. What a sweet, sweet feeling for South Carolina, and pretty much the entire team is back. And right on cue, the man stepping into the batter's box is Jackie Bradley Jr. Last year's College World Series most outstanding player. He's been out since April after a left wrist surgery on a tendon. He's missed about 26 games. He looks at a strike. Doctors told him that his only shot at returning would be the College World Series. And he makes it back. Just had the cast removed on May 27 in center field against Mississippi State, April 23rd. Here's how it happened. After the 6th inning, he sustained that injury to his left wrist, diving for a fly ball in the 5th.
You just see how that wrist kind of got caught underneath his body. And I'm sure he's thanking his teammates to go, yes, I want to play again this year, guys. Got to get there.
Big swing and a miss, and down he goes. He's bound to be somewhat rusty as he strikes out. He became an overnight star here in Omaha last year. So Jackie fans.
Like you said, he hasn't seen many pitches in over 27 games, and that was a nasty pitch by Stripling. Bottom just fell out of it, and he caught the outside corner.
Here's Evan Marzilli. He walked and then would eventually come in on a balk that would score him. He flies this one to left. Brandon Wood is there. 2 up and 2 down. So both pitchers showing signs that they're settling in after rough first innings. Not necessarily all they're doing. Both sides have committed an error. Scott Wingo will be the hitter. Wingo with a single and a run in the first inning. Drops down a bunt. Will that get him on? Stripling has it roll off his fingers. That should be a base hit. A single for Wingo. He's now 2 for 2. That was a beauty.
We talk about the pressure offense that Texas A&M comes in, but you see South Carolina doing a bit of their own. Great bunt by Wingo. Tough play. That's the only play that Stripling has, is try to bare hand that ball and come up with it, and you saw it just kind of go off his fingertips.
Ray Tanner says of Wingo, if he's not dirty, we're not winning. That's the kind of player he is. They want him on base. He gets on a lot. A .466 on base percentage. First team all SEC, and he's aboard here for the second time tonight. Christian Walker, the batter. 1 for 1 with a single and a run. Off speed and right through it. 78 miles an hour. That one came tumbling in.
Well, when you have that much, over 10 miles an hour difference from your fastball to your off-speed pitch really makes it difficult on a hitter for your timing.
2 down. We're tied 4-4. Ground ball to the middle. Nice knockdown there by Jackson into second base for the fielder's choice, and that retires the side. Kenny Jackson with a fine play. Really good defensive shortstop. So the team's starting to settle down. It's a 4-4 game after 2 in Omaha. Texas A&M well represented here in Omaha, tied up with South Carolina, the number 4 seed. We're in a 4-4 game as we go to the top half of the 3rd inning. And now let's take a look at our Home Depot coaching clinic, and Kyle Peterson has made it upstairs to educate us.
All right, Opie, thank you. We're talking about the slide step a lot with Michael Roth. I'm going to show you exactly what it is. I can't think left-handed, so I need to do it right-handed here. The one thing with Roth, and the reason why you do the slide step, is to try to be quicker to home plate. You see most right-handers do it, not a lot of left-handers, but Roth is good at it. Watch my front leg. Normally, guys are going to lift that leg up, go all the way to home plate. With the slide step, it's a lot more abbreviated. So it's shorter, you're going to bring it more straight back, and then a lot quicker to home plate. The one thing to watch with Roth, and sometimes you'll see this with guys' stuff, is in the slide step, the stuff isn't quite as good because there's not as much time to get your arm back and get that arm through. So see if the stuff carries over when Roth goes to that slide step.
Well, he must have perfected some of that at 13-3, Kyle. 1.02 ERA coming into tonight. He's an extremely bright young man. Terrific in the classroom. Swing and a miss here by Adam Smith. In fact, he's scheduled to go to Spain in a couple of weeks.
No balls, 2 strikes. Here we go.
Smith 0 for 1, struck out looking in the 1st inning.
Yeah, he's looking forward to going and studying abroad over in Spain.
0-2 well off the plate.
You know, and he was drafted this year in the 31st round by Cleveland, and I'm sure Coach Tanner's going, well, maybe you stay in Spain and come back time for next year.
Yeah. Don't take that offer. They'd love to have him back for his senior year. He's an academic All-American and a semifinalist for the Golden Spikes Award. So he has had quite a junior season for South Carolina. 2-2 is upstairs, so a full count on Smith. Kevin Gonzalez on deck. Roth with a 3-2, and he got him. He struck him out swinging. So he is starting to look pretty sharp. Roth had to face 8 men in the 1st inning. He walked 2, gave up a big 3-run triple. There was a key error right out of the gate by his first baseman, and he could not pitch around that as it turned out in 1st. He gave up 4 runs. Here's Gonzalez. He walked and scored in the opening frame, and he knocks that one foul.
Well, watching Roth, just with all his pitches, nothing is straight. Everything moves. Either it cuts or it tails on his fastball. See there with a breaking ball in the outer half of the corner. He keeps hitters off balance. You know he's going to be around the plate and throwing strikes.
One man out, bases empty here for Texas A&M. Right back to the hill, and Roth will get him. 2 down.
Got him.
And Brandon Wood will be the next hitter in. There's a story that came out this week, very unusual under any circumstances, but about Michael Roth and his dad, who tweeted this week that he was quitting his job to follow his son in the College World Series in Omaha. First pitch is in there for a strike.
You're right. He's tweeted quitting his job, but gets to come to Omaha.
We don't have any quotes from Mrs. Roth about that, although she's very involved with her son Michael and regularly gives him coaching tips. In fact, after one start this season where he didn't pitch particularly badly, she told him, "What are you working so slow for? Pick it up. Pick up the pace." Swing and a miss, and down goes Wood. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for Roth. He strikes out 2, and he has struck out 4 in the last 2 innings. He got Smith, he got Gonzalez on a comebacker, and then puts away Brandon Wood. All right, bottom half of the 3rd inning coming up. A 4-4 tie here between A&M and South Carolina. And the Gamecocks will bring up a dangerous part of their order in Thomas, Morales, and Williams. And we'll see if Ross Stripling has the same success moving into a groove that his counterpart Michael Roth has had. He's starting to pile up some strikeouts here. Thomas whiffed his first time up, so he struck out looking. Left-hand hitter who started the night hitting .311 with 4 home runs, and is up high for ball 1. Stripling usually very, very difficult to hit, as opponents are only hitting him at a 200 pace. He helped the Aggies clinch a share of the Big 12 title with a 4-hit shutout of Texas on May 21st. He's already come up with some big outings.
Tremendous athlete as well. He's a shortstop in high school. Now here he is pitching in the College World Series.
1-2 fought off foul by Thomas.
And he seems to be following Roth and what he's doing every inning. Roth there was 4 runs scored in the first, 4 runs scored off him. He faced 5 batters in the second. Stripling faced 4. So let's see if he can get a 1-2-3 like Roth did the last inning.
1-2 almost got him. He had to get that elbow out of the way. A 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Stripling usually with great control. Rarely walks anybody. In fact, his season high was 3 against Kansas.
Oh.
Well, he walked the very first man he faced tonight in Evan Marzilli. And of course had the balk in that opening inning as well. Flick foul. Adrian Morales on deck here for South Carolina, making their 10th College World Series appearance. Cut on and missed. He came back to get him. Thomas strikes out for the 2nd time. Hey, to keep up with all the NCAA College World Series information, log on to NCAA.com. It's the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Well, 1 man out, and Morales gets in. He reached on that error by the second baseman Collazo in the first inning with the bases loaded, as Collazo tossed it away, and that really got South Carolina back in the game more than anything else they did in the first inning. To the shortstop, down for it, Jackson. 2 down.
Out.
Jake Williams in next.
There's Morales. Seems like he's always talking. Coach Tanner was saying he just likes to talk. Talks about the game, thinks about it constantly. Said he's always in my ear, even in the dugout. And you see him even talking as he was running from the umpire.
Yeah, I think he's a great thinker, in that he will be a fine coach at some point. Morales 0 for 2, although he did reach on that error in the first inning, so he has scored a run. There's a high pop-up back toward the screen. Gonzalez will give it a look off into the crowd. Jake Williams, the hitter. As we mentioned earlier, South Carolina lost their College World Series opener last year, bounced back to win the whole thing, and in fact they've lost their first game in 7 trips to the College World Series in Omaha. Last time they won an opener was in 1977. Well, the loser tonight goes into the losers bracket along with 3 other teams that are already there, including Cal, which lost earlier today. That one socked foul as Virginia won that game 4-1. This one tied up 4-4, all the runs in the first inning. It was a wild first. To the shortstop again. Kenny Jackson very busy. Skips it, and a nice pick there by Jacob House as he took it out of the dirt, and that retires the side. So there's your 1-2-3 inning by Ross Stripling. And we're still tied 4-4 in Omaha.
It's a crazy town full of neon dreams. Everybody plays, everybody sings. Hollywood with a touch of twang. To be a star, you gotta. It's a crazy town.
Back in Omaha, the College World Series. It's a 4-4 tie between Texas A&M and South Carolina after a crazy first inning. And now it appears the pitching is about to take over as Michael Roth is back on the hill. Well, the last 2 innings, Nomar, 4 strikeouts, so he has picked it up.
Oh, he's really settled down. You see right there what he's done in his first 8 hitters. He had 2 for 5, and then the last 8 he's really settled into his own.
They see Kenny Jackson here, who has been tested many times early on. He is 0 for 1 with a ground to short. Been tested defensively. Honorable mention all Big 12 as he takes a pitch down into the dirt.
Well, now that you see how Roth is kind of settling and kind of catching the corners with his off speed, we know that Texas A&M aggressive. I wonder if they're going to start thinking about maybe dragging a little more, trying to get the pressure on, and especially that leadoff guy.
Cross for a called strike. And again, Roth just at 85 miles an hour. So he will not light up that radar gun, which is in a changeup, a slider, and a cut fastball. Little looper over short. That's going to find a home in left center. So a base hit for Kenny Jackson. You know, they get on. They like to run if they can.
And you see this ball just kind of going away from Kenny Jackson on the outer half. He does a good job going with it. Gets it off the end of the bat, but just enough to flare it right over the shortstop's head.
The 9-hitter Andrew Collazo 0 for 1 tonight with a strikeout. He committed a very impactful error his first time in the field, and now pops up a bunt here and makes an out. So he's had a tough night already. The very first inning, a huge error, and now pops up a bunt.
And there's a difference between sacrificing and going for a drag bunt. And when he tried to get ready for that, he showed that bunt late, so he was trying to drag it and try to get a base hit out of it and didn't get the bat out there in time. And because of that, bat was kind of at an angle. His barrel was down a little bit, which caused him to pop that ball up.
So 1 down. They can't get that man over, and here's Naquin as he steps in and looks at a strike. He's reached on an error and struck out. Naquin back on March 5th against Houston, became the first Aggie ever to hit for the cycle. And he's just had a marvelous season at .387. A ball outside.
1-1.
No time asked for here because there's a beach ball loose on the center field warning track. Very common sight here in Omaha.
The beach ball. There's a lot of beaches surrounding us.
Give it about 5 minutes. It'll be on the warning track again. Aiken puts it in play. Could be a double play. Out at second, out at first. 6-4-3. Mooney, Wingo, and Walker turn it. And Roth continues to pick up more and more steam as we move toward the middle innings. He needed only 8 pitches to get through that inning. The double play, a big help.
Let's get this thing started. It's my kind of.
We welcome you back to the NCAA College World Series, presented on ESPN by Capital One. It's Texas A&M and South Carolina, the defending national champions, on this Father's Day. And a very pleasant day to you as we move into the evening here in Omaha. 4-4, each team with 4 hits. Each side has committed 1 error. And the fireworks came in the first inning. Since then, the pitching has been very tough. For South Carolina, Peter Mooney will lead things off. He singled in a run in that uprising in the opening inning. And a comebacker speared on the backhand by Stripling in a very fast out.
Come out.
So 1 man gone in front of Robert Beery, who is the MVP of the Columbia Regional for South Carolina. And typically he's an outfielder and the Gamecocks backup catcher, but he's the starting catcher right now. And he's their most versatile defender. He can play the outfield, left, right. He can catch, play first, play third down the line. Long run, but it's off into the stands. Naquin couldn't get there. We talked about all the foul ground here last night at the new ballpark.
Right, and I noticed it right away because I'm a hitter, and you never want to see that much foul territory as a hitter. And Kyle Peterson, we were talking to Kyle, he saw it and he goes, "Oh, that's great. That's what a pitcher thinks."
Yeah, Kyle's eyes lit up. Like, isn't this marvelous? Much more than Rosenblatt.
You're right about Robert Berry. He really plays every single position. And that's not only just a huge asset to a team, especially when guys are going down, but it's a huge asset for a manager. Just knowing that because guys can go down, I can put them anywhere and feel comfortable doing so.
And does a nice job. He's also a powerful hitter. He's hit 3 home runs this year, but they say he can hit it out of just about any park. 1 down and a 2-1. Right through it. Good off-speed delivery at 76 miles an hour in on the hands.
And both Stripling and Roth have really settled down, and they are just mixing their pitches extremely well.
High bounding ball deep short. Tough play for Jackson. That's going to roll away, but should be a base hit. Very, very difficult play into the hole, and a single for Robert Beery.
Yeah, even if he comes up with that cleanly, with his momentum going out to left field, to try to get something on that throw would have been very difficult. I mean, look how far he has to range for this ball, and still would have to come up throwing on that with his momentum carrying him. Very difficult play to do, and Barry had some speed getting down that line.
Jackie Bradley Jr. will step in. He struck out in the second inning, 0 for 1. His timing certainly looks a little bit off. Strike 1 to him.
Which is to be expected. And you're sitting out for so many games, and this is your first live at bat is in the College World Series.
And do you trust the wrist? I think that has to be another factor. Even though the surgery was successful.
The hardest injury for any player is going to be with the hands and the wrist. It's really difficult to come over. To overcome that. And you see that with that swing. And especially your top hand, that top hand wrist, which is so helps you keep the barrel above the ball as long as possible.
That one skips away and the runner will advance. Beery down to second on a wild pitch. So a man in a scoring position now for South Carolina in a 4-4 tie. So Stripling uncorks one here.
Watch you swing again. See, oh, this is the ball in the dirt. Wild pitch.
Bradley, when healthy, has a marvelous swing. Really has a pro swing, doesn't he? Drafted by the Red Sox. That one into the dirt.
That he does. It really, I doing the College World Series last year, got to watch him, and he was just unbelievable. And watching his swing, watching his approach, he does have a professional approach. He's going to have no problem transitioning to a wood bat.
2-2. Lofted toward left, but that's going to go foul and out of the range of anybody. Bradley has had a rather incredible run. As a freshman, he survived a blood clot that could have taken his life.
Watch his swing again right here. And this is where the top hand, see the barrel, see how it's just kind of going down. That top hand, you really want to see that kind of stay on top more with that wrist. That keeps the barrel up just above, a little bit higher as it's going through the zone.
2-2 dribbled back to the hill, and Stripling gets him.
Got an out.
Down to third moves Robert Beery. So 2 men gone. Still tied up 4-4. Well, Monday Night Baseball comes your way at 7 o'clock Eastern. The Yankees take on the Cincinnati Reds. And then 2 of the game's premier sluggers could take the field on Wednesday Night Baseball. Ryan Howard of the Phillies, Albert Pujols of the Cardinals. But Albert suffered a wrist injury today. High deep drive off in the right center field, but that'll be run down by Bratson for the out. Now, Coach Tanner will be joining us in just a moment to talk about South Carolina and what it's like to be the defending national champs in Omaha.
Though he doesn't fall off.
Welcome back to Omaha. We head to the 5th inning, tied at 4. I'm joined by Ray Tanner, head coach of South Carolina. All right, through 1, we're tied at 4. Now still tied at 4. I know we expected to see a pitcher's battle, but what have you seen from your standpoint so far?
Well, the first inning was tough for both of us. It seems like the whole College World Series has gotten off with that kind of a start, but we got a good baseball going good game going right now.
All right, we talked a lot about Jackie Bradley Jr. I know back for the first time in almost 2 months. So far, what have you seen from your standpoint?
Well, he looks fine to me. You know, defensively, he looks like he's 100%. Offensively, he hadn't seen a lot of pitches, but make contact the last time, maybe he gets a hit the next time.
All right, I got to ask you now. The first lineup we saw, he was in the 2-hole. Second lineup I saw, he was in the 9-hole. Why the change?
Well, it was really determined by Marzilli. He said he was good to go. He's had a lot of experience lately, so we just put Jackie down there and take a little pressure off of him.
All right, Ray, thanks.
Kyle, thank you very much. Coach Tanner, thank you. Bradley Jr., who is such a big star here, the most outstanding player in the College World Series last year. More beach ball duty. 41 different starting lineups, including this one tonight for South Carolina.
And Bradley had a little trouble throwing that beach ball back in the stands. It took him about 3 efforts. And that has nothing to do with the wrist. It just happened to do with the beach ball.
A little heavy?
Yeah.
Heavier ball. Ray Bratson here. He's put down a sacrifice bunt and singled. Roth has been really sharp since that opening inning.
Bratson, a great bunter. We said that before, and maybe want to try to drag one here.
0-2 now. Matt Yengel will follow, and then Jacob House, and that's into the heart of the order for Texas A&M. 5th inning, a 4-4 tie.
Oh!
Off the outside edge, you wouldn't chase it.
1-2.
Roth 6'1", 210 delivers a swing and a miss, and down he goes for strike 3. So Bratson fans, 1 man out.
And Roth once again staying down in the zone. Just look at that break. Zone does a good job to show us that. Look at just the way this ball breaks. That's a changeup coming out of his hand, and it almost looked like a break of a curveball. It's just that much movement on it. Just seems the bottom falls right out of it.
5 strikeouts in the last 3 1/3 innings here for Roth, and quickly gets in front of Yengel, who has walked, stolen a base, and taken ball 4 again. Junior out of Houston, Texas, second team all Big 12, and he takes outside. Began the night hitting .309 with 14 stolen bases. So like everybody else virtually in the Aggie lineup, get him on and he'll get himself over. Now, Texas A&M lost their ace, John Stilson, before the NCAA tournament, but still only allowed 10 runs in 4 games during the regionals. So they really are built on pitching along with the speed game.
I mean, you're right, they come in just with a ERA as a team as a whole, 2.88, which ranks 13th in NCAA. That's out of 292 teams.
One blue foul out of play, and yet in a super regional they allowed 23 runs to FSU in a game 2 loss that dropped them from 5th to 13th in ERA. It's the most runs ever scored in a super regional game. Only one previous College World Series participant allowed more runs on its way to Omaha, and yet here they are, fouled back to the screen by Yengel. Jacob House on deck. Roth in the 3rd inning faced only 3 batters. It was also true in the 4th inning. Even though he gave up a hit, he got a double play ball. Now he's looking to strike out his second man in this inning, the fifth. Popped him up, but that'll twist foul back off into the crowd. A&M has been up against it, though, several times already in the postseason. They won the College Station Regional, defeating Arizona. That was a winner-take-all game. They won the Tallahassee Super Regional over Florida State, so they had to win on the road. Fouled off again, off to the right.
Youngall having a battle right here with Roth. Doing a good job hanging in there because Roth doesn't give in even in the 3-2 count.
Mentioned John Stilson. Here he is. He was 5-2 with an ERA under 2 before the injury. Here comes the 9th pitch of this at bat to Youngall. And it's up and away. He really earned that one as he takes ball 4 for the 3rd time. He walked all 3 times tonight. So 4 walks issued by Roth. And now a man on for Jacob Howes, who has singled, stolen a base, scored a run. He's also flied to center.
All right, here we go, Jake.
Remember now, the Aggies as a team, they stole 107 bases coming into tonight, then worked a double steal in the first inning. Their opponents have only stolen 52 bases.
So they're running and throwing them out. And the 2 stolen bases they have today was a double steal when they had a guy already on second base, especially with a pitcher who does have such a good slide step like Roth. It's a bit easier if you're going to steal third than it is second.
All even 4-4. You and I have already seen a couple of balks in the night games. When you have a left-hander on the mound, I'm always wondering about that. As a base runner, as a hitter facing a guy, a left-hander, who always toes that line. I mean, he's right there. He's almost balking if he's not balking every time. Runner goes, and it's top toward first, but foul. They will send Youngall back.
Well, as a base stealer, he's always balking.
Yeah.
That's what you believe. And as a pitcher, they believe, oh, they're not even close to that line. There's plenty more I can go. And sometimes the rules for balks are just so vague that you don't know what really constitutes a balk. I mean, they say you can't deceive the runner. Well,
what's the point?
Right. They're all balks then.
Yeah, isn't that the point?
Right.
I'm trying to deceive you and pick you off.
Exactly. So.
And for me with a lefty, it's always about the step, you know, and whether he's stepping toward home or he's stepping toward first. And they practice it, and they're so good at it. They've mastered it, most lefties. And Tom Glavine was the best I ever saw. Right on that line, a 1/4 inch or less between balking or not balking.
No, you're right. And they talk about that 45-degree angle. I don't know how they even judge that 45-degree angle. It's so difficult for either the home plate umpire or the first umpire to judge what that is. So you're right, guys who practice it and master it. It's a very good weapon. And like I said, as a base stealer, they're all balking. They're always trying to deceive me. Read the rule.
No question. Look at that last delivery.
Notice how much he dropped down on that one. Then he'll go even higher with his arm slot. Gives you different looks from that arm slot as a hitter.
Coach Tanner calls him a goalie on the mound. Runner goes. That's by the pitcher. And the one play at first as Ringo zips it over there to get the out. Down to second is Youngall. So they put the man in motion. They put Youngall on the run, and it pays off. There are 2 out for Adam Smith. And again, Youngall with pretty good wheels. He should score on a base hit pretty easily. Adam Smith has struck out twice, however, once looking, once swinging. We're locked up 4-4 Texas A&M and South Carolina here in the College World Series. And a strike on the outside edge.
That's a good job by Texas A&M, though, putting Youngall in motion. having confidence in Smith that he would put the ball in play as well. And you know, he may have got an out, but he does have a guy now in scoring position.
Fouled away by Adam Smith, whose father Barry played 4 years on the Aggie baseball team back in the 1980s. His mom also went to A&M. His grandfather Jerry threw the discus and shot put on the A&M track team, and his older brother Andrew just graduated A&M. Aggies all the way.
I was wondering what color his room may be.
Give you one guess. Yengel is second, 2 down, and the 0-2. And he was not tempted.
When Roth really is ahead in the count, when he's getting hitters with 2 strikes, he really does try to expand that zone. He keeps going farther and away. And then once he goes farther away like that pitch, then he comes back with you with an off-speed pitch down and in.
High there, 2-2.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2-2.
He will not come anywhere near hitting 90 miles an hour.
Doesn't have to with that off-speed and command.
That's right.
Because of that off-speed, it makes that 88 look like 91, 92.
One thing he has done tonight is walk too many for a guy who doesn't have that blow-you-away fastball. And he's on the verge of doing it again. He's walked Engel 3 times and Gonzalez once. 4 walks, tying a career high for Michael Roth. Again, Smith over 2 Ks. And make it 3. Well, he muscled up on that one, didn't he? 88 miles an hour to smoke Adam Smith. That's a big K for Roth. That comes with a man at second base representing the go-ahead run. We're still tied at 4. Bradley Jr.'s throw to the plate. The top's up. He's in there. Diving play by Collazo. Will he get the play? No, and the run is in. Last half of the 5th inning coming up as we give you a look at our game summary to this point. Well, both starting pitchers had a rocky first inning, but they have pitched much more effectively since then. The team's combining for 6 unearned runs, 2 errors in the first inning, 1 coming with the bases loaded. Ross Stripling will toe the slab here against South Carolina. They've pretty much duplicated each other to 2 starters since the first. That's across for a strike on Scott Wingo, who has singled twice. Last time, beautiful bunt hit.
And Scott Wingo really is that on-base guy. I mean, he's on-base percentage coming in was .466.
He drills that one deep to right field. Aikman back, and it's off the warning track up against the wall. Wingo heading into second. He'll be content with a double. So he winds up with a 2-base hit, his 3rd hit tonight. One of the hardest hit balls we've seen this evening.
Well, that ball just falls right. You see where it is on K-zone. It's right down the middle of the plate, and that's what you want to do as a hitter, is that when the pitcher does make a mistake or it falls where he doesn't want it to go, that you do pound it exactly the way Wingo did.
So he's had a marvelous night. He started the evening hitting .338, making 3 for 3. His father Billy is a member of the Clemson Hall of Fame as a standout football and baseball player. So he has terrific athletic bloodlines. There's Christian Walker. He had a long conversation with Coach Tanner before he got in. See what they're up to here. Way outside for ball 1.
You're right. Coach Tanner's talking to him, probably telling him, okay, depends maybe on what count. I might see if I want you to sacrifice him over, or hey, let's swing the bat and I want you to drive the ball to right field. Let's get him over. Let's do your job. Stay inside the ball.
As we mentioned earlier, he does not have a sacrifice bunt all season. It would be unlikely for him to be bunting. He hits a high bound at short. The runner holding at second, and that's out number 1. So Walker retired. No play on.
Good strong arm by Jackson at shortstop to make that play. And that is one ball that Walker did not want to do. Like I said, he's you're going to swing the bat and they're not asking you to bunt, you don't have any sacrifices on the year, you got to stay inside the ball and try to go the other way to move the runner over. It was unsuccessful there.
Here's Brady Thomas, 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts so far. The left-hand hitting DH. Tried to hold up Diddy. He swung. Strike one on Thomas.
Let's see if he did check his swing. And I'm a hitter again. Of course he checked it.
I think he went just to balance it out. Too much love for the hitters from you. A swing and a miss. Thomas hoping not to strike out for a third time, obviously. He's been a good hitter, 308, 4 home runs, but having difficulty here with Ross Stripling. Without question, a man at second and Wingo.
Well, all year for Thomas, he's really been that clutch hitter for South Carolina. Comes up with that big hit when they need it. This is a good time.
A base hit here would untie it. Tried to hold up, but he went. Down he goes. They'll have to throw him out. They get him. The runner breaking for third, and he's going to get in there. Very cagey base running there by Wingo. 2 down as Thomas strikes out for the 3rd time. But he was waiting for that throw to first.
So here's this nice breaking ball in the dirt. He couldn't hold up, but smart not just to be upset with yourself going down the first, and because of that, it allows Wingo to go to third on that throw to first base, which good heads up by Wingo. Now it changes everything because you got a guy 90 feet away, and a pass ball wild pitch can score him.
Adrian Morales here. He's reached on an error in the first inning. That came with the bases loaded, and he is also grounded out to the shortstop. So 0 for 2. Morales drafted by the Kansas City Royals. He was drafted in the 49th round. So when Coach Tanner asked Adrian about maybe being a scout one day, he said, "No way. What do scouts know? I got drafted in the 49th round." Nice stop there by Gonzalez to prevent that run from scoring.
Yeah, he says, "I'm not worried about that. I'm sure he's going to go play professional baseball." And says, maybe when that's done, Coach, they know.
Maybe become a coach.
Right. I bet you he told Coach Tanner, "I want your job. I'll take your job."
They have a great relationship, and Tanner just loves him. That's in there for a called strike. It's a very high baseball IQ.
Watch this changeup. He's getting more confident. We talked about earlier how he's confident in that changeup, and see how it just catches the top of the zone.
2-2. Little blooper on the infield, caught out of the air by Jackson. A soft line drive. And that is out number 3. So a leadoff double goes to waste. They strand Wingo. He winds up at third base. A chat with Coach Childress when we come back to Omaha.
Back at TD Ameritrade Park here in Omaha, Nebraska, to the top of the 6th, joined by Rob Childress, head coach at Texas A&M. I said the same thing to Ray Tanner. We start this game 4-4 through 1. Now we spin around. It's 4-4, so we head to the 6th. Stripling's really settled down. What have you seen?
Well, both of them have, and Ross has really found his changeup and kind of stabilized the game. The first inning, we come out with a 4-run lead and lead-off walk. We make a mistake defensively, a balk, and just like that, they're right back in the game, and here we are. We got a 4-inning game to play.
Okay, now how about offensively against Roth? What do you need to do against him?
Well, again, we get a pitch to hit. We've got to be able to hit. He's not going to give you a 2-inning at bat. He can really change speeds well. We've got to get the changeup up in the zone, and, we get a pitch to hit. We don't need to miss it.
All right, Rob. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Roth back to work. He did walk a man in the 5th inning, but struck out 2. Faced only 3 men in the 4th inning, got a double play. Struck out 2 in the 3rd, and struck out 2 in the 2nd. So it has turned into a pitcher's duel between Roth and Stripling. And here's Kevin Gonzalez. Catcher has walked, and he's also grounded back to the mound, 0 for 1. Gonzalez, an excellent receiver, blocks the plate very well. Handles the pitching staff very effectively. He's also the team barber. Actually owns his own scissors.
Well, they said the team pitched in to buy those scissors and clippers, and even the bib they put on him.
The apron.
The apron.
Bib. I don't think he wants it called a bib. an apron, a barber's apron, but he tightens everybody up before the game.
He does, and he even cuts Coach Childress' son's hair as well. Look at those guys, nice sharp haircuts.
Yes, Coach Childress' son, but not Coach Childress. It's interesting to note. We're tied up 4-4 in the 6th inning. Texas A&M and South Carolina, and that'll be ball 4. So Gonzalez walks for the 2nd time.
Well, now let's take a look at our Home Depot coaching clinic. We're going to look at Roth here. We talked about earlier about his different arm slots to batters. Well, here he is. There's Stripling going out there and facing it with his changeup. He got a nice circle change going here. And this is what's falling out. Watch how it starts off at the top of the zone and the bottom. We were talking about the bottom dropping out of it. Even when it's on top, you ease up on it as a hitter, and it catches the strike.
Gonzalez on at first base. The batter, Brandon Wood. He has tripled in 3 runs. That was in the 1st inning and struck out in the 3rd. South Carolina is going to get an active bullpen now in the 6th. Cut on and missed. This is a career high in walks for Michael Roth. Walking the leadoff man in the 6th. That's a key that John Taylor and Tyler Webb are going to get started in the pen out behind left field. All the runs in the game were scored in the 1st inning. The bunt push toward that mound on the right side and fielded. Nice spin. Roth gets the out. Down to 2nd moves Gonzalez.
Good job by Wood getting that bunt down. And you see him, they like to really square late. They don't just like to just give up and out. They believe they can handle. They work on bunting so much. They really need that sac bunt. They figured if I can drag, maybe there's a possibility of getting a base hit out of it. Great. If not, I still get a sac bunt out of it and does the job.
So that brings up Kenny Jackson. He singled and grounded to short. He's also been a very busy guy defensively at shortstop. And remember, South Carolina in the bottom of the 5th inning had a runner at 2nd base and could not get him in, even though he got down to 3rd eventually, and Scott Wingo. So now it's Texas A&M trying to retake the lead. They had a 4-0 lead after a half inning. But that evaporated quickly. Carolina came storming back. Texas A&M making a number of mistakes, key error and a balk, and it was a 4-4 game after 1. Jackson has really played well on the defensive side tonight, and he has all season long. That's a swinging bunt off the hill. Roth, another spin to throw, and gets him over to 3rd. Gonzalez. So 2 away. That had the effect of another bunt.
Well, obviously they didn't want to bunt right there, but nonetheless, Gonzalez, good job advancing to 3rd base on that.
You move him up. 104 pitches now for Michael Roth. Andrew Collazo now. He has struck out and popped out foul to the catcher on a bunt. He's made an error he'd love to atone for. Flies that one to right. That's well hit. Marzilli backing up though and makes the catch. And the side is retired. So both teams leaving a man in scoring position inside an inning. Still tied 4-4 in Omaha. Coverage of the NCAA College World Series presented by Capital One continues on ESPN. ESPN2 tomorrow, 1st at 2. North Carolina takes on Texas. And then at 7, it's Florida and Vandy in the winner's bracket. That's all to come tomorrow on our ESPN family of networks. Great to be with you tonight. What a beautiful evening for baseball here in Omaha. Another big crowd on hand to watch Texas A&M and South Carolina. This is an opening round game for both teams. Game 4 of the tournament. We'll go to the last half of the 6th inning, tied at 4-piece. Jake Williams will lead things off here against Ross Stripling. Gave up that leadoff double an inning ago, but made sure they did not score. A ground out, a strikeout, a soft liner, and he was out of it. Williams 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts, one to second, one to short. South Carolina with half a dozen hits. Texas A&M has 4. But both teams have had a lot of trouble getting any momentum going since that first inning. Chop foul off third.
Well, we heard Kyle talking to Rob Childress, and he was mentioning about Roth and his changeup. Well, Stripling's changeup has really kept him in this game as well, and been shutting down the South Carolina offense. He's really throwing it well against right-handed hitters.
Stripling third team collegiate baseball All-America, academic All-American. One-two pitch and a little blooper foul. Peter Mooney on deck, and then Robert Berry. Only 3 hits since the first inning for South Carolina.
That's foul right here.
Ground ball off his foot. So foul ball. Williams in a little bit of pain, but he'll have to walk that off here. A 4-4 tie in the last half of the 6th inning.
Well, a lot of pitchers like to come back inside after a guy fouls the ball off their foot, thinking that they don't want to swing at that again.
1-2 in there, and he got him looking. So Williams will take a seat as he's frozen in the box. Stripling collects a K. 1 man out.
Just a big breaking ball right here that catches the inside part of that plate. He's freezing a lot of guys on that breaking ball, and they're starting up out of the zone on the high part of the strike zone and then breaking into the high part of the strike zone. A lot of the hitters are giving up on that ball.
His out pitch, yep, 5 strikeouts for him, and in there for strike 1 on Mooney.
Yeah, even he's done it with the breaking ball, and he's done it with his changeup as well.
Well, he does work quickly, really attacks hitters. Mooney is singled in a run and grounded back to the pitcher. Heard that. 75 and in there. Boy, he is changing speeds very effectively. Stripling up to 90 pitches. No activity in the A&M bullpen. Cut on and missed. 88 miles an hour to blow away Mooney. And another strikeout for Stripling.
Well, Stripling's just done an excellent job keeping them off balance. We see that breaking ball, like I said, starting high out of the zone, and then he comes back with a changeup down in the zone, which just sets up these breaking balls that keep getting spun to swing over. Because he's staying all over different parts of the zone, you freeze him.
Berry pops it up. Galazzo near the line. The wind took it a little bit, but he makes the catch. And Stripling has another sterling inning. He gets them 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 at the end of 6. We welcome you back to the NCAA College World Series, presented on ESPN by Capital One. And here in Omaha, good one going, a 4-4 tie as we go to the 7th inning between South Carolina, the defending national champions, and Texas A&M. Happy Father's Day, even if it means they're writing another check. And your kids are still very small. You'll get very good at that the older they get. Believe me, trust me on that one. Boy, Roth has been impressive, hasn't he?
He really has. And you don't come into a game with a 1.02 ERA and not know how to get out of jams. Even when your team doesn't pick you up defensively, you settle down, say, I'm not going to give up any more runs. I'm going to keep my team in the ball game, and that's exactly what he's done.
Last time he gave up an earned run, May 13th against Arkansas. The 4 runs against him in the first inning, all unearned, because the leadoff man, Naquin, reached on an error by the first baseman. And now Naquin gets in there. 0 for 3 tonight. He's also struck out and hit into a double play. South Carolina has 2 men throwing in the bullpen. And that pitch count is starting to get up there because Roth had to really work extra hard in that first inning. Some of it his own doing. He did walk 2. 107 pitches for the left-hander. Aikman, a very dangerous hitter. One of the best in the country. Over 100 hits on the year. He came into this ball game batting .390.
I wonder if the way Roth drops down versus left-handed hitters is kind of keeping him off balance a little bit and tough to pick up. Really, when he's facing a left-hander, Roth becomes kind of that slinger, really drops down more on a sidearm to 3/4 type pitcher and sling that ball across the plate.
2-2 and inside and around the hands. So the count goes full.
That's what he's done. He's come with that 2-seamer in on a hard fastball, and then he's been doing the breaking stuff on lefties away.
Walked 5 in the game. He jammed in there. A little roller to first base. Made a tough pitch. Walker there. Got out with a tap and out number 1. So 1 away in the 7th inning. You mentioned the pitch count on Roth. Already well over 100. He's at 111. In the postseason. 6'1" junior from Greer, South Carolina, has been up in this zone before and even higher. 119 against UConn in super regionals. He's on quite a run. Here's Bratson in the ball game. He has singled, struck out, and put down a sacrifice bunt. We talked about it earlier. He can drag a bunt with anybody for a base hit. Not trying to do that here as he fouls it back, and it's 0-2.
I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen more guys trying, especially the leadoff hitters of the inning from Texas A&M, because they do like putting that pressure on the defense. And when you have a guy who's been so effective like Roth.
0-2 to Bratson. He won't chase it. Bratson has what his head coach Rob Childress describes as game-changing speed. Should he get on 31 stolen bases, that is 9th national. He did reach in the 2nd inning, but did not attempt to steal. And that's on the outside corner, strike 3. And no argument from Cray Bratson. 2 men out. He's caught looking.
Well, I told you he's been able to expand the zone, and that one seemed to expand a little more and really got some help from the home plate umpire to get that call.
Surprised he didn't argue in any way. Even with the eyes. Here's Yengel. Pops that one foul. He has walked 3 times in this one, scoring only in the 1st inning after he stole a base when they got 4 runs.
Yengel's really been a pesky hitter these at bats. He's been fouling balls off like that and able to get into those deep counts to draw those walks.
Again, if he gets what he really likes, he does have home run power. 7 home runs to lead Texas A&M. Not a high number. Even with the reduced bats and home runs down across the board in the college game dramatically this year, that's a low number as a home run leader. 2 balls, 1 strike. We're in a 4-4 tie in the 7th. Nobody on base, and Roth delivers. 3-1. This would have to be his last inning. 119 pitches. Does not throw hard as mentioned. Best fastball we've seen tonight is about 88 miles an hour. Sock to center field. Bradley there. He got fooled on it. In he comes, and he'll make the catch. He started back initially. 1, 2, 3 they go. So Roth, quite an effort tonight. A high pitch count. We're still tied 4-4 in Omaha. Monday Night Baseball comes your way at 7 o'clock Eastern. It's the New York Yankees taking on the Cincinnati Reds, and then 2 of the game's premier sluggers perhaps on the field. Wednesday Night Baseball at 8 o'clock. Ryan Howard certainly one for the Phillies. Albert Pujols, though, for the St. Louis Cardinals was injured today He suffered what looked to be, I mean, you hate to speculate. Right now they're saying sprained wrist, but boy, it looked worse than that.
He went down quick and
did he.
looked like in some serious pain.
Let's see if he can shake that off. We're on to the bottom half of the 7th inning, and Jackie Bradley Jr. is very casual on that last catch, but kind of came back and made the play after misjudging it initially. No harm done.
And we're going to take another look. Watch how he goes back on this ball, thinking it was going to be hit deeper, but then he's like, no, I have the athleticism to just kind of stop, turn around, and get underneath this.
Getting back into the lineup. Of course, South Carolina loves that. Most outstanding player of the College World Series last year as he lit up Omaha. Just returning to the lineup after missing a long stretch, 26-27 games. After left wrist surgery on a tendon. Suffered that injury in April. And hits a high fly ball into right field. Backing up Naquin. He's underneath it, shy of the track, and he'll put it away.
Well, Bradley just missed that pitch. You see that he looked like his eyes were opened up, like he saw this one. Watch this one. He sees that big break ball. His eyes got bigger, and he tried to drill that ball and just missed it. You know, he hasn't seen pitches in such a long time, been out for so long, and that one's just a matter of timing. Just got underneath it and out in front, just a hair. That would have went a long way.
He's getting close.
Yes.
He has a gorgeous swing. Here's Marzilli. A walk, a couple of flyouts tonight. So Evan is 0 for 2. Up the middle. Will it get through it? Will, for a base hit. Collazo with a dive and a miss. And so South Carolina here in the 7th with 1 man out has a man on. And some very tough hitters coming up now against Ross Stripling. It's a big question whether Marzilli would even play because of a hamstring injury that he suffered in practice here in Omaha. But he was able to get in there tonight as the leadoff man. He is 1 for 3.
And like you said, we saw him before the game working with the trainer. Trainer really tested him out. I was thinking, we're going to get him tired. If he's ready to go, he's going to be worn out. But they really wanted to make sure he was okay.
Well, Stripling has not gotten this man out tonight. Scott Wingo has singled, bunted for a hit, and doubled. He scored a run. 3 for 3. So 2 men throwing in the bullpen for Texas A&M, and a throw over back in Marzilli. He did steal 6 bases coming into tonight.
But I'm wondering how that, when you got to take off that quick to steal a base, how that hamstring is feeling for him.
He's there.
And I'm wondering, do you really think about, I mean, Wingo's last hit, he crushed that double.
He did.
And he's looking so good at the plate.
Wingo also leads the team in walks, so he'll take ball 4. Terrific on defense too, and that skips away. Gonzalez knocks it up the third base line into second. Marzilli, and the Gamecocks are in business here in the 7th.
Well, if you're Texas A&M, this is one thing you did not want to happen. I mean, as a pitcher, you want to feel confident you can throw any breaking pitch in the dirt. You got a great defending catcher in Gonzalez. It just gets away from him, and the way Wingo is swinging it, like you said, already 3 for 3. You didn't want to put somebody in scoring position.
South Carolina just 2 for 10 with men in scoring position tonight. 1 and 2 on Wingo. Christian Walker batting .359 with 60 RBIs coming into this evening is on deck. And look at Wingo in the NCAA tournament, and more trouble right behind him. Marzilli at second, and it hit it. That'll put runners at first and second. Wingo reaching base for the 4th time, the hard way here. So 2 on with 1 out. And trouble for Childress and for Stripling.
Well, you see some activity out there in the bullpen, and let's look at that pitch again. He just kind of yanks that ball and just gets away from Stripling. And gosh, it hits the calf of Wingo, his back calf. You can see him kind of stretching it out over there, understandably so.
Well, here comes the head coach, Coach Childress, heading out to the hill. Looking down at his bullpen, he took a glance out there. 99 pitches for Ross Stripling, a 14-game winner. Uriagas there tossing alongside Martin. And the call has not gone out yet. And talking this one over. Stripling allowing a base hit and uncorking the wild pitch. 99 pitches tonight, 6 strikeouts. We are tied up 4-4 in the 7th inning, and he's going to stick with him. So it'll be Stripling against Christian Walker. This could be for the ball game here. Only one man out in the inning, but you get the number 3 hitter up there. Very good speed out there at second base, although it might be compromised by the hamstring.
Yeah, if you're Marzilli, I think it's more important, not so much that just getting that good secondary, get yourself in a good position. So if there is a base hit that you can score. It's not so much a big lead right from when he's in the stretch, but as soon as he releases ball, it's getting that secondary lead afterwards.
Walker steps in 1 for 3 with a single against 60 runs driven in this season. Their top RBI man. Ball 1 inside. A very steady guy for South Carolina. 18 doubles along with those 10 homers. And he's one of their smartest hitters, Coach Tanner tells us. 2 on. He looks at a strike. South Carolina lost in its opening game in the College World Series here in Omaha last year, then won 6 in a row and won the championship. Floater caught. Collazo will have no other play. Everybody gets back at first and second. So Walker does not hit it hard. 2 down. And Brady Thomas, the designated hitter, will climb in next. He has had no success tonight. Not only is he 0 for 3, Thomas has struck out all 3 times.
I wonder if this is a reason why Coach Childress has left Stripling in, thinking, okay, if he can get Walker out, I'd really feel comfortable him facing Thomas the way he's been looking against Stripling tonight.
Brady's had a very hard time with the breaking ball in particular. Outside ball 1.
And that's why Stripling went right to it.
Marzilli at second, Wingo at first, but 2 away. Ground to the right side toward the hole. Collazo with the play at first and got him. And Stripling gets out of the inning. Well, his coach showed a lot of faith in him, and he paid it off, didn't he? We're tied 4-4 after 7. It is a wonderful festival for college baseball, but here's a big-time talent in the major leagues, Jabba Chamberlain, who is a native Nebraskan. He's here with his family, with his dad and his boy. Of course, just off Tommy John surgery. Is he signing lefty?
Yeah, he is.
The Jabba taking in a College World Series here in Omaha. And guess what? Michael Roth is still on the mound. He's thrown 121 pitches. Now, he is getting a left-hand batter right out of the gate here. There's a right-hander in the bullpen and a right-hand batter coming up next after Jacob House. So it might just be one hitter. Probably will be. House is 1 for 3. Tied up 4-4. This will be pitch number 123 for Michael Roth. It's a long but a pretty successful night. The runs against him unearned in the first inning. All 4 of them. That's when all the scoring took place for both teams. John Taylor is the right-hander. They're number 14. And Tyler Webb is the lefty. Bounded back to the mound. Roth there. And 1 man out.
Well, like you said, he gets that lefty out. We're going to see them come out, go talk to him. I wonder if this is to buy the right-hander a little time, or maybe they're just checking to see how he's feeling.
Both pitchers are over 100. But I mean, Roth way up over 100. And they're making the move to the bullpen right now. So House is retired. And a yeoman effort there by Michael Roth. He was just brilliant after the first inning. And they'll bring on a right-hander to face Adam Smith. Texas A&M 4, South Carolina 4 in Omaha. Back with more in a moment. More than 2 hits after the first inning. 8 strikeouts tonight.
And let's check him out on Cajun. Now notice where all the pitches on. There is nothing down the middle. Here he goes with a fastball, then a breaking ball. Everything on the outer side, outskirts of that strike zone. Even up in the zone, getting guys to swing. Little help from the umpire. That's because he is hitting those corners all night long. Way to go to settle down after 4 unearned runs on him. And his team is back in the ball game. Just a tremendous effort by Roth.
Well, he went 7 1/3. Got the leadoff man here in the 8th. 4 hits, 4 unearned runs. He did walk 5, tying a career high. That's the major reason his pitch count was up there at 124.
And we saw the way he pitched different angles when he was facing righties. He had his arm slot a little bit higher than when he faced lefties. He had a tendency to drop down a little bit more, kind of go close to 3/4, almost sidearm against lefties. And speaking of sidearmers, we have one in John Taylor taking the hill from the right side. And he really drops down. Comes at you with a fastball slider.
Facing Adam Smith, who pokes that one foul. Taylor during the season coming into tonight 6-1 with a 1.27 ERA, so he's been very effective.
Because he goes right after hitters. Said he gets a lot of bad swings. Well, you'll get a lot of bad swings because hitters aren't used to seeing the angle in which he's pitching from.
Drafted by the Seattle Mariners in the Major League Draft. A high pop-up. The shortstop Mooney. You could hear his teammates calling Peter. Peter Mooney puts it away. So 2 down. That's a bit of a victory for Adam Smith, though. He had struck out 3 times against Roth. Now he pops it up. He at least makes contact. 2 down. Here in the 8th inning for A&M, and that'll bring up Kevin Gonzalez. Roth all smiles. Gonzalez with a couple of walks and a grounder back to the pitcher. And takes a strike as that one swoops in at 72 miles an hour. Been a very interesting game. Both teams have had chances, not a ton of them, since that first inning. But it looked like it was going to be a high scoring and very sloppy game because both sides scored 4 runs in the first inning. It's been really anything but that. No runs since the opening frame. Both teams have played error-free ball since the first inning. And the pitching has been outstanding since the first inning. Cut on and miss. Down he goes. Gonzalez strikes out. 1, 2, 3. Go the Aggies. Michael Roth, the big story. Outstanding in this game, over 7 1/3, but still tied at 4.
The NCAA College World Series is presented by the Capital One Venture Card with double miles on every purchase every day.
Back in Omaha, last half of the 8th in a 4-4 tie, and to keep up with all the NCAA College World Series info, log on to NCAA.com. It's the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Who will break the tie here tonight? The sun is setting here. We have a defensive change. Charlie Curl is the new second baseman for A&M. Colazzo moves over from second to third, so Adam Smith is out of the game after going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. But Stripling stays on to pitch. And facing Adrian Morales. He's reached on an error, and he's also grounded out and lined out 0 for 3 in tonight's game. In the 7th inning, South Carolina had 2 men on with 1 man out, but could not bring in a run. Popped up to right. Naquin there. 1 away in the 8th for the Gamecocks. And Jake Williams is up next. He's 0 for 3.
Well, both teams offensively are just really looking for that leadoff guy to get on some sort of spark to get something going. But like we said, both starting pitchers have done a good job shutting that down.
The leadoff man reached in the 5th inning when Scott Wingo doubled, but even though he got to third, they couldn't bring him in. And then in the 7th inning, they got 2 on. Not the leadoff hitter. A liner into left field coming on is Wood. He'll make the catch. So Williams flies out, and they're 2 away.
You're right, in that 5th inning when they got that double by Wingo, that's really been the only scoring chance, or the best scoring chances for both teams in this game after the 1st inning.
You're right. Beautiful new ballpark here, the TD Ameritrade Park, the new home of the College World Series. Peter Mooney here. He singled, grounded out, and struck out tonight. Now, this event really takes over the beautiful city of Omaha, Nebraska, which is a terrific walking around town.
You're right, it really is.
And look at the proximity to the hotels and some of the other things you can do, all the tailgating and the tents. Fly toward left, that'll slice into the corner and up into the stands. A foul ball off the bat of Mooney.
I think I need to tailgate tomorrow.
You've been threatening to do that.
I have been. You
keep saying, you keep saying I'm going to target the LSU fans because they might be the best.
But they're here all the time. I mean,
whether they have a team
whether they have a team or not, they love this event.
Upstairs for a ball, and they don't have a team.
They don't have a team here this year,
but they're here.
They are.
It's a great baseball program. Terrific fans. We see them all over the place. In the purple, that one up and in. And he jumping back out of the way, trying to reach here with 2 down in the 8th inning. And a nerve starting to settle in on both sides. 1st inning showed some signs of that. He lunged at it and popped it up into left. And Wood along the line will make the fair ball catch for the out. 1, 2, 3 they go. So we are headed to the 9th inning. We've been saying it seemingly all night. We're still tied. Texas A&M 4, South Carolina 4. A look at our game summary from Omaha, Nebraska in the College World Series. We're locked up 4-4 heading to the 9th inning. The team's combining for 6 unearned runs and 2 errors in the 1st inning, but the score has been frozen since then. Both starters have really been outstanding. See just 2 earned runs against Stripling in that 1st inning meltdown, not by him, but his team defensively. Although he was charged with a balk, here's Brandon Wood. Grounds that one to the shortstop. Scooped up by Mooney and a long throw in time.
Yep.
A nice play by Mooney, going deep in the hole to his right. Nice strong throw to get Wood. I'm wondering, when we look at this 1st inning, I wonder if it's just a byproduct of the College World Series jitters on both teams. They always say when you get into this kind of environment, you have that nerves, the anxiety, and everybody goes, gosh, I just need to get that first pitch out of the way, maybe that first hit or that 1st inning out of the way. And once they got out of it, they all settled down.
A mound visit here, and over the last 6 1/3 innings, Texas A&M has 1 hit in this ball game. And in the 9th now, 4-4. Roth certainly did everything he could do, as he was outstanding. Come join us and our 25,000 friends on Facebook and Twitter. Search ESPN Omaha on Facebook and become a fan. You can get behind the scenes access to video discussions and information on all featured bands. You can also follow Stanford's 3-time All-American Kyle Peterson and Florida softball star Jen Brown for live updates. Smiling Kyle Peterson was not smiling quite so broadly when he got drilled by a foul ball yesterday,
but he was okay.
So is that little one slumbering away on a really pretty night here. We're going to have a pitching change. And it's Matt Price, the right-hander for South Carolina, with a blazing fastball. One of the best in a college game. He can flat bring it. Texas A&M 4, South Carolina 4 in the 9th. Back with more in a moment. A 4-4 game here in the 9th inning, and South Carolina brings in one of the top closers in college baseball with a power slider, great fastball, a changeup. 6th round draft pick of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and many think that that's too low.
Well, with a live arm like he has, that's why they think that's too low, and he does have some movement on his fastball, and that's really the key, especially in professional baseball. You want to see a live arm with movement, and that's what he has. And also, he's not afraid to pitch up in the zone. He really can elevate that fastball, and when you throw that hard and it looks bigger to a hitter, and you have a tendency to swing on it, but you can't catch up to it.
Price probably projects as a starter in Major League Baseball, and if he hangs around this year, even though he was drafted in the 6th round, again, that might be too low for him. So if he comes back, he'll probably be a starter next year for South Carolina. But right now, he's their closer. Bases empty in the 9th inning, 1 down. Here's Kenny Jackson, the batter. He's gone 1 for 3. Base hit in the 4th inning. But that was the last time they had a hit on the A&M side. South Carolina certainly knows all about close College World Series games. Last year, the national championship run, they played 4 one-run games, and 2 of them in extra innings. So nothing new for the Gamecocks. That's a strike at 94.
There's been a couple of teams here in the College World Series that really know how to battle back and come through adversity. Both South Carolina and Texas A&M as well.
The 1-2. Boy, just missed. Just off the edge of the plate, according to Travis Katzenmeyer. We'll check out K-zone.
That was just a good pitcher's pitch. It is off the zone. Good call by the home plate umpire, but that is a pitcher's pitch.
Down he goes, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. So Jackson fans 2 away in the 9th for A&M.
Well, that pitch before, when it was out of the zone, sets this one up because the hitter knows that was close and down, and then he brings that fastball. Even if it might have been off the plate, you cannot lay off that pitch, and he's able to just blow it right by you.
Andrew Collazo now. He has gone 0 for 3 tonight. He shifted from second base over to third and takes a high one for ball 1. 4 runs on 4 hits for A&M. 4 runs on 7 hits for South Carolina in the top half of the 9th inning. Two 2-0. Now, the last 2 years, Price has pitched in the most difficult circumstances in college baseball, and he has thrived. Now he's fallen behind 3-0 on the number 9 hitter.
Looking at that Texas A&M dugout, I'm surprised I don't see any rally caps going or something to try to get this offense going. Especially in the college game, right? There's always some sort of rally cap and superstition, which I know nothing about, but Try to get something going.
Not your cup of tea. The 3-1 pitch. Put in play to the right side. Friendly bounce there for Wingo. And the side is retired. When we come back, bottom of the 9th inning, and Jackie Bradley Jr., the biggest star of last year's College World Series, the outstanding player, is due up second. Well, nobody has left their seats as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning of the College World Series contest between Texas A&M and South Carolina. And Jackie Bradley Jr. is one batter away. He was the outstanding player last year in the College World Series. 2 for 5 against UCLA. 1 for 3 2-run double against Clemson. Game-tying RBI double in the 12th inning against Oklahoma. He was 3 for 4, 4 RBIs against ASU. 2 for 4 in a 4-3 loss to Oklahoma and hit a home run. And he has just made his way back to the lineup after missing a long stretch after wrist surgery. And he is going to get his 4th at bat coming up in just a moment. He'll be facing a new pitcher in Kyle Martin. First man up here is Robert Berry, who's gone 1 for 3 tonight.
Well, both these teams have seemed to be matching each other pitch for pitch, and South Carolina brings in a submarine pitcher, and Texas A&M brings one of his own, and Kyle Martin drops down, gets good sink on his fastball, has a changeup that he uses for his out pitch.
Time to band-aid up as it's cut on and missed by Berry. The defense after the first inning has really been terrific. Guys flying all over the place and making stops. Berry at 292 with 3 home runs. He could certainly end it with his power. He wanted rally caps, and there they are in the South Carolina side.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need to see. Caps, even the sunglasses are upside down.
Fly ball into right field, racing back. Here's Naquin all the way back to the wall, turning around, it's off the wall. And it bounces back away from him into second, and stopping there is Berry, who just missed a home run to win it. Naquin got all turned around there, had a devil of a time with it in right field, and Berry opens up the bottom of the 9th inning with a wall ball. And nearly muscled it out to the opposite field.
Once again, South Carolina leads off an inning with a double. Berry driving that ball in the outer half, going the other way with it. Doing an excellent job driving that ball the other way. Going off the wall, bouncing off the wall, takes a big bounce before Naquin can get that ball in. And Berry holding up at second. Thought about going to third, but stops, realizing that, wait a minute, I am the leadoff hitter. I have to stay here before, I can't make an out. I got to make sure I'm going to be safe if I want to go 3. So smart heads up play, especially with a lefty coming up.
Not just any lefty. Jackie Bradley Jr.
You got Coach Tanner coming over here talking to him. Now there's going to be a question. You're going to get some thought. Do you bunt with Bradley here? He hasn't played an awful lot.
And Childress is coming out as well as he's marching out to talk with Kyle Martin.
The other thing with Bradley, though, you're thinking as a manager, although I do have a lefty up, it's easier for a lefty to pull it because we're looking for someone to hit the ball to the right side.
Well, he's going to dip into the bullpen now. He will make a pitching change after Martin gives up the leadoff double. Nick Fleece will be brought on to pitch to Jackie Bradley, who knows all about star turns. So Fleece coming on in a very tough situation. Nobody out in the bottom of the 9th inning in a tie game where one mistake could end it, or another big hit by Jackie, who has gone 0 for 3 tonight. Again, last year's College World Series most outstanding player. He's been out since April after left wrist surgery on a tendon. Doctors told him his only chance to come back and play would be in the College World Series, and he has a chance to win their opening game here in Omaha tonight.
You're right. And what does he have to face? Well, like I said, they've been matching pitch for pitch, and they bring in Nick Fleece, their closer. Texas A&M, just like South Carolina brought in theirs, and he comes at you with a power fastball as well, from 90 to the mid-90s. He's got some sinking movement and uses that slider as an out pitch. just like Matt Price. So they're going to try and going at each other head to head here today.
Everyone taking a very, very close, long look at Fleece, including Jackie Bradley Jr. Robert Berry has set it up by ripping a double off the wall and right as he attacks Kyle Martin right away and almost hit it out of the ballpark to win it.
It's pretty interesting there as Fleece is warming up. I mean, you had everybody from South Carolina together, from Coach Tanner, third base coach, first base coach, man who just hit a double, and Barry, Bradley, like they all together figuring out what they want to do, what their strategy is going to be, and all on the same page while Fleece is taking his warm-up pitches.
All tied up 4-4. We have been saying that since the first inning ended. We're in the 9th now. Evan Marzilli is on deck, but right now it's Bradley Jr. against Nick Fleece. And he can break Texas A&M's heart right now. The defending national champs can win it. He shows bunt and takes it down low for ball one, a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
He does show bunt. It is easier for a lefty. You want this ball to go to the third baseman, want the third baseman to field it. So it's easier for a lefty as compared to a righty to bunt it down the third baseline. But let's see if he swings away after the first pitch.
Again indicating bunt, but did not offer at it. He takes the strike. 1-1. Barry at second base. He's been catching all night. Again indicating bunt, but won't try and drop it down, and it misses for ball two.
Oh, when you square around and bunt, see the sunglasses upside down. We got the shark hat on, but you want to make sure you bunt a strike.
Drops that one foul off third. So can't get it fair. That was the intention. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He was trying to bunt that to the third baseman, Collazo, who's made a big error in this game. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. The winning run at second base. Now he's swinging and lines it into left field for a base hit. Wood scoops it up. Barry into third. He'll stop there. Jackie Bradley Jr. comes up with a base hit. He doesn't win it, but he does move Robert Berry 90 feet closer.
Wasn't able to get the bunt down. Hasn't played a game. Last 27 games, gets a pitch up and goes the other way with it. I'll tell you what I'm so impressed with is very difficult to get on top of a fastball like that when your top hand is the injured one, and he does a good job. That means it is feeling better, but he hit it too hard. Barry could not score from second.
And now Coach Tanner will call his hitter Evan Marzilli over for a conversation. Also the home plate umpire Travis Katzenmeyer will stand by. Marzilli in the ball game has gone 1 for 3 with a base hit.
Everybody is in the same spot. Nobody is changing anything in that dugout as they rally.
Well, the SEC is such a great conference. And looking to go 3-0 in the opening round of the College World Series. The infield is in. Marzilli the hitter. He takes one low for ball one. This is a fascinating sequence of a couple of hitters. We already talked about Bradley Jr. and his long stay on the DL, so to speak, because of that wrist injury. Marzilli has a troublesome hamstring as he takes one down low. He was very doubtful whether he would even play.
I mean, he was up to the minute in the lineup, and here he is. He actually has looked good today, moving around those bases, and now all he needs is looking for a pitch up that he can get in the air to the outfield for a sacrifice fly.
They're playing shallow as well, and the pitch is downstairs for a ball. And the count goes to 3-0. One more like that, and they will all be loaded for Scott Wingo. Wingo has already been a hero a number of times.
And he's been on base every single time today.
And there for a strike. So now a hitter's count for Evan Marzilli. Berry at third. Bradley Jr. at first. Nobody out in the 3-1.
Ball 4.
And that's ball 4. And the bases are loaded for South Carolina with nobody out in the 9th inning. And Scott Wingo, who has not been retired tonight, will come up to swing. Childress out again. So he's going to make a move here. Scott Wingo has singled twice, doubled, and been hit by a pitch, so they have not solved him in any way. And they're going to bring the left fielder now, Brandon Wood. So he comes racing in. And Scott Arthur, an extra infielder. So the wheels turning here for Childress.
Yeah, and the walk wasn't necessarily the worst thing that could happen when you're in this situation. You have the game-winning run 90 feet away. You have the infield in. So now you have an ability, once you walk the bases loaded and nobody out, there's a force out at home. It doesn't have to be a tag play at home if the guy had to make contact and they go on contact. A double play doesn't help you in that situation. So bases loaded, bringing in extra infielder, hoping to get that ground ball or a strikeout and get the force out at home. That's why for me, when I saw that 3-0 pitch you were talking about, now he's in a hitter's count 3-1. I thought a 3-0 might have been the hitter's pitch because you know he's going to lay one right in there and try to hit that one.
Let's get it to Kyle.
Fellas, they're going to trump the infield in here and add an extra infielder to bring the infield in. Look at the two outfielders playing left center and right center right now. So Scott Arthur comes in, play just behind the pitcher's mound. Bob Childress rolling the dice here, thinking he's going to get a ground ball, but you get this ball in the air anywhere in the outfield, got a great chance to win it.
Bases all loaded up here for Scott Wingo. He's already won a handful of games with dramatic hits. Robert Berry at third, and the first one is in there for a strike. Tied at 4-4 here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Scott Arthur playing the short field right around second base. So 5 infielders plus the pitcher and the delivery. Foul back out of play. Wingo drafted in the 11th round by the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's a favorite of Coach Tanner's, who says if he's not dirty, we're not winning.
And I do see a little dirt on his shirt.
Now can they win it here? Up and away.
1-2.
A ball and 2 strikes on Wingo. Christian Walker, their top RBI man, is on deck. Lees takes a sign. Here comes the 1-2 pitch. Swing, and there's a shot, and this ball game is over. Deep to right field and off the wall. Here comes the run. South Carolina pulls it out in the 9th inning. Final score of 5-4, and Scott Wingo hit the daylights out of it. So the Gamecocks knocked off Texas A&M 5-4, the final in a dramatic finale.
You said it. If he's not dirty, they're not winning. Well, he's dirty, and he's been huge all game. Has reached base every single time he came up to the plate. And South Carolina doing an unbelievable job in battling back today after giving up 4 runs in the top of the first inning.
Wingo finishes up the night 4 for 4 with the game-winning shot off the wall. So forget about the short fielder. He went over everybody. And he won it with a line drive to right field in the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded.
Behind in the count, 1-2 pitch, top of the zone. Guy throwing 90+ miles per hour and gets on top, and he knows that's all it takes. This game is over.
So for South Carolina, 5 unanswered runs after trailing 4-0 in the first inning. They certainly have that championship look again. It's effectively the same team back with a couple of changes. They certainly know how to win, and tonight they pull it out against Texas A&M in their first game in the 2011 College World Series. And they break the hearts of the Aggies from Texas A&M 5-4. Well, Wingo did not make an out, Nomar, all night. 4 hits, and he was hit by a pitch.
Hit by a pitch and hit in the calf. Tough play, but it didn't bother him, and smiles all around for South Carolina. They really did a good job. Michael Roth was tremendous today.
Let's get it down to Kyle Peterson with the hero of the night.
All right, thank you with Scott Wingo. That's quite a night now. I mean, we had talked about how good you've been in the postseason, but 4 hits tonight, they didn't even get you out. What was the key tonight offensively for you?
Well, I was just trying to go battle every pitch, every at-bat, and Stripling, he's a great pitcher. He kept it down, and, you know, we got 4 off of him in the first, but he battled. I mean, he did a great job, and we just tried to battle. So that's all we're trying to do.
Have you ever come to the plate when they bring an extra infielder in? I mean, what's the thought process when you see that extra infielder come in and the outfield plays different?
Yeah, when I saw, I guess it was a center fielder, I don't know who it was, but seeing 5 infielders, I said, hey, I got to try to get it up in the air a little bit. And I got 0-2 and just trying to battle. And we got a pretty good pitch to hit.
How about the job that Roth did? I mean, I know he's been so good for you guys all year, but gives up 400 in the first and then just deals from then on. How important has he been just to the run of you guys all year?
Well, Roth, we know. I mean, he gave up 4. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind he was going to go battle for us. And he gave us 7, a little more than 7. So he does that about every time. So we know Roth's going to battle. If we battle for him, we got a shot. So.
Scott, I know you guys lost the opener last year, came back to win the whole thing, but how does it feel now to win the first game here in Omaha for you guys?
That's what we said. We wanted to come out and win this first one because, I mean, what we did last year is unbelievable. We know winning the first game is big. You need to win it. So we came out here battle, and we did a good job.
All right, you're off and running. Nice job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Off and running and off and swinging in the 9th inning. Kyle, thank you very much. Wingo, our Capital One player of the game. Scott Wingo 4 for 4. And locks it up in the end as his teammates come after him. In the books officially is a base hit, an RBI single.
Yeah, bobbing and weaving from his teammates. Looked like he was going to jab at them, but they're giving hugs all around. Just had a tremendous night.
Well, they're getting used to it. They know how to pull these heart-stopping wins out. They made a habit of it. They did it last year, too.
Well, they did, and we highlight Scott Wingo obviously as the player of the game, but you also got to give it to Michael Roth. I mean, just after giving up 4 unearned runs in the first inning, not letting that affect him, what he's done all year, especially with his ERA at 1.03 coming into the game and goes down even more after today, he really has been the ace of this staff, and it kept him in the game so Wingo can do what he did.
5-4 the final. Carolina with a terrific win over Texas A&M. Let's go back down to Kyle Peterson with Ray Tanner.
All right, Ray. Now, I know, you know, in the past you guys haven't won game 1 here. I'm sure it feels a little bit better, though, to get that first win. Let's talk about Roth first. I mean, just the job he did the night after. He didn't really struggle through the first, but gives up 4 in the first.
Well, it was a tough first inning for both pitchers tonight, and then they settled in and pitched extremely well. But Roth battled. His pitch count got a little high, but we pieced it together with Taylor and Price, and fortunately we came up with a big run there at the end.
I know you changed your lineup up. Scotty Wingo goes into 2-hole with that second lineup, ends up having a great night out of the 2-hole. How big a job has he done for you guys the entire postseason?
Well, he's our guy. I mean, he's the guy that makes us go. We've had some guys up and down the lineup that have been good for us, but when Wingo goes, we usually have a pretty good day.
Well, Jackie Bradley went 2 there in the 9th inning to keep that inning going. What did you see out of him tonight, and what did you like?
Well, next to his last at bat, he flied out to the right. He squared that ball up pretty good, a breaking ball that he got to pretty good. And then with 2 strikes, he shot one the other way that could have ended the game if he had not been right in front of the left fielder. But he looks more comfortable than I expected him to.
All right, Ray, congrats on the win.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Kyle, thank you very much. Ray told us this morning he feels like his team and their mentality is they are never out of a game. They were down 4-0 in a heartbeat after a half inning. And they scored 5 in a row to win it, although it took a long time before they got that 5th one. So here's a look at the bracket. Florida and Vandy to square off on Monday night. North Carolina and Texas in the loser's bracket on Monday afternoon. Bracket number 2 is now complete because South Carolina will face the top seed Virginia on Tuesday night. Texas A&M against Cal in the loser's bracket on Tuesday afternoon. Stay tuned next on ESPNU for tonight's post-game coverage. And tomorrow from the College World Series, it's North Carolina and Texas on ESPN at 2 o'clock Eastern. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. We say goodnight from the College World Series. Thanks so much for watching. For Nomar Garcia-Parra and Kyle Peterson, I'm Dave O'Brien. Happy Father's Day, everybody. 5-4, South Carolina has won another thriller.